Welcome to Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. I'm your host, Jill Jardine, master's in counseling psychology, longtime astrologer, psychic healer, hypnotherapist, and yogi. In this episode, my guest is Joanne DiMaggio, MA certified hypnotherapist. Joanne DiMaggio is an outstanding past life regression therapist, researcher, and author. She has a lot to share with my listeners, so stay tuned. Welcome to the episode featuring my guest, Joanne DiMaggio. Joanne DiMaggio is an outstanding past life regressionist, researcher, and author. For over 35 years, Joanne has assisted many men and women in remembering their past lives and in discovering their soul's purpose by helping them to open their hearts and souls to the transformative and healing power of past life regression and soul writing therapy. Joanne is a graduate of the Eastern Institute of Hypnotherapy, completed additional training in hypnosis at the College of DuPage, and studied under Dr. Irene Hickman, a pioneer in the field of non-directive hypnotherapy. She earned her master's in Transpersonal Studies and her spiritual mentor certification through Atlantic University. Her thesis on inspirational writing served as the basis of her first esoteric book, Soul Writing: Conversing with Your Higher Self. Joanne found her own past life research and education center, Plexus, in the Chicago area in the 1980s. This, plus her active participation since 1987 in Edgar Cayce's Association for Research and Enlightenment, enabled her to interact with the leading past life therapists, authors, and other renowned healing practitioners. Joanne is passionate about conducting research projects on various aspects of past life exploration, and then sharing her findings through the books and articles she writes. Joanne likes to identify herself as a reporter for the universe. Writing is part of her spiritual DNA. In addition to her soul writing book, her other books include Your Soul Remembers: Accessing Your Past Lives Through Soul Writing. Karma Can Be a Real Pain: Past Life Clues to Current Life Maladies. I Did It Myself. Again, New Life Between Life case studies show how your soul is guiding your life. And Joanne's other book is Edgar Cayce and the Unfulfilled Destiny of Thomas Jefferson Reborn. Joanne considers her work to be divinely inspired, and in its sacredness, she continues to help to initiate the healing of individuals as they search for answers to life's profound questions. If you would like to schedule a private past life regression or soul writing session with Joanne, please visit her website, www.joannedimaggio.com. That's spelled JOANNE DIM as in Mary, AGGIO.com. It is my pleasure and honor to welcome our guest today, Joanne DiMaggio. Welcome, Joanne, to Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. Such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you, Jill. I've been looking forward to it.
I know that my listeners want to hear what you have to share about past life research, past life regression, karma. So we're going to jump right into it. You've been doing past life research and therapy for over 35 years. I'm just curious, what got you interested in this work and what part of it is most satisfying to you?
Well, I was thinking about that today, and I was remembering that when I was a child, pretty young, before I even was a teenager, I used to spend a lot of time thinking about the afterlife, like what happens to us when we die. And, I was raised Catholic, so of course they had their own interpretation of the soul and heaven and hell and purgatory and all of that, but somehow it just didn't resonate with me. So by the time I was a teenager, I started to read books on esoteric topics. So I got into some of the reincarnation books. I was reading about Edgar Cayce, who ended up becoming my great mentor. And I read books by Jess Stern and Ruth Montgomery and all of the leading edge metaphysical authors at that time. And when I read this book about, it was The Search for Bridie Murphy. That was the first book I read on reincarnation. And there was just something about it, and everything about it, about the theory of reincarnation, made perfect sense to me. It just answered all the questions that I've always, wondered about. Why are some people poor and some people rich, and some people, healthy and some people ill, and some people happy, some people not, some people great in relationships, other people struggling. And I just embraced it and started to read as much as I could about it, then sort of put it away on the back burner. And then in 1987, when Shirley MacLaine's book Out on a Limb became a miniseries that was aired on ABC in January of 1987, that was my big wake up call. And she focused a lot on reincarnation in that series, and that just reawakened my interest in the topic. And from that point on, I really delved into it and became active in Edgar Cayce's Association for Research and Enlightenment, and started my own past life research and education organization, and eventually went on to do some, research projects and published a journal about it. And I was rubbing elbows with all the leading edge people in the field through the inviting them to be speakers at my organization and through the ARE. And so it just became a passion for me, and I've been doing it ever since. And the most satisfying part of it is to see the transformation in people. They have these aha moments when they go through the regression, things that never made sense to them before. Suddenly the light bulb goes off and it makes a lot of sense, and it moves them forward. If they feel stuck, it just gives them that little bit of an impetus to go on and understand their soul's journey and what it means to them today.
Wow, that's a great story. I remember those times in the 80s. I too was into past life regression, and there weren't I was into the past life, reading anything I could on people's past lives, and there wasn't a lot of literature out there except for like
Hmm.
Edgar Cayce. And I remember reading a lot where they used case studies from India, because India, believed in past life and it wasn't so far out. So I remember reading a lot of things about these little kids in India who would be like, "Oh, I used to live in that town," and they were taken to that town and they're like, "There's my uncle, there's," and
Yeah.
so that literature used to be fascinating. But you and I know who Edgar Cayce is, but we even said this the other day, that a lot of people who are into past life regression or some of these metaphysical subjects now actually don't really know who Edgar Cayce is. So maybe we might have to
Hmm.
illuminate them and talk about his readings and how he
Yeah.
did these soul readings. So maybe just a little brief description of that for our listeners.
Well, sure. Edgar Cayce was probably the most renowned psychic of the 20th century. He did 14,000 readings. He would lie on a bed or a chaise or something like that, and he would go into trance and he would do these readings. Now, of the 14,000 readings, about 12,000 of them were health readings. So people were coming to him with all sorts of chronic illnesses that traditional medicine was unable to heal. And he would go up and he'd get the answer and bring it to them. And he was just so far ahead of his time that he earned the title of father of holistic medicine. And a lot of the remedies that he prescribed to people in the 20s, 30s, 40s, we're still using today. So that's one aspect of his work. But then he started to do life readings for people. And in those readings, he did about 2,500 of those readings were past life related. He would tell people about up to maybe 4 past lives. He wouldn't give more than that. He would explain to them, well, you're obese in this life because in your past life you made fun of people that were obese. So, or other, he had the most remarkable answers for the cause of a problem in this life stemming from something that happened in a prior lifetime. So he founded the Association for Research and Enlightenment, I believe, in 1931, and all of his readings are archived there. Members of the ARE can go on the website and download those readings if they want to look something up. You might type in arthritis, and then all the readings on arthritis will come up. Like I said, the remedies that he suggested are still being sold today. But people have we've different people have studied different aspects of his work. Of course, mine I've really zeroed in on two areas of his work. One is reincarnation. The other one was what he called inspirational writing, and I renamed it soul writing. That was the basis of my thesis for my master's degree, which I got from Atlantic University, which is a part of the ARE. So, he's been an enormous, enormous influence on me, and all of my work is based on his work, and I just I cannot speak highly enough. There's been nobody like him since
Right,
he,
right.
he was here, you know.
And he
Yeah.
went they called him the sleeping prophet. The other piece for our
Mhm.
listeners, he also would do astrology readings, but the way he did them was very unique. Like he would talk about the last planet that your soul stopped at before this incarnation. It was fascinating information.
Yeah, he
And
didn't he talk about you come in on a I don't know, I pictured it as a beam of light. So like I don't know where I heard this. Like the day that you die is in your last life is the day that you're born in the next life, and you come in on that same
yeah, that's
trajectory.
interesting. I've heard that too. I've heard that, but that again, no one has really proven that. And
Right,
that
right.
there's, soul connection to certain realms. Like, some souls are very connected to the etheric realm of Venus, let's say. So they have a very
Hmm.
strong Venusian presence, or that they have that beauty. Or I remember there were things like that because I was into his astrology readings back in the 80s,
Hmm.
but they were
Hmm.
so esoteric and so nothing like them even till now, that I don't think
Hmm.
anybody does astrology like that.
Hmm.
Maybe your friend Patty, the astrologer, does, though. She's going to be on the show soon. But yes,
Wonderful.
very interesting work. And like you said, no one has been able to do 100 years later what he did. So
Hmm.
thanks for sharing with the listeners who Edgar Cayce was, because some of them may not know. And so I'm going to ask you another question, Joanne. When people are looking, when they find you, or what is their intention, or what do they want from you when they come to you for a past life regression? Like, how do they present it? Do they even know why they are reaching out?
That's interesting. That's like the first question I ask them when we do the intake. Um, Most of them say, "I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I know I'm supposed to be doing something, but I don't know what it is." So they're looking for their soul's purpose. That's one of the reasons. Some of them are dealing with patterns over and over again, and they have no idea where did this pattern originate, because they know they instinctively know it's not anything from this lifetime. It has to go back further than that because there's nothing in this life that would set that up for them. So whether it's a relationship issue or whether it's a poverty consciousness issue, or if they have a chronic health issue. I did a whole study on chronic conditions in people in this life to see if we could trace it to a past life. I did about 50 of those, and they're in my book, Karma Can Be a Real Pain. And so those are some of the reasons, but a lot of them will just say, "I'm just curious. I've heard about this. I've wanted to do it. Then I heard you on a podcast or whatever, and I felt like I wanted to go ahead and see it." So I offer several different types of regressions depending on what people want. Now, some people will want to know what their pre-life planning session was all about. So in those cases, I'll do the regression. And all of my regressions, by the way, I ask Spirit to take them to the past life that's most impacting them today.
Right.
Because you've had many, 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 many past lives, but you're not working on issues from all of those. So I ask Spirit, what's the primary karmic issue from a particular past life that they're working on now? How is that affecting? So that we have to look at, what do you have in common with your past life personality? What are the behavior patterns that are the same? And everyone is absolutely astonished at what they find out, when they go in and actually start to to put two and two together. Or, I think of it as a beautiful mosaic. They give me a piece here, a piece there, a piece there. We put it all together. There's this beautiful picture of their soul's journey, and they get a great deal out of it. The people with the physical karma, many of them get a spontaneous healing.
Oh, wow. That's great.
The people with if they come to me for the pre-life planning session, the questions they get answered are, why did I choose my parents? Why did I choose these two people in particular? Who are the members of my soul family who decided to come in with me in this life, and why? What role are they playing in my life? What is my soul's purpose? What are my karmic attributes? So those are the positive things, because we do have some skills, talents, and abilities that we've acquired in previous lives. Some people that are natural born, they're gardeners, they're healers, they're musicians or artists. A lot of that came along with them from another lifetime. So the applications of it are enormous, and they are all profound. Everybody that comes to a regression, even those that think they're going to make everything up, they warn me about that. I'm afraid I'm going to make this all up, Joanne. And I said, I guarantee you that you won't say that when it's over. And sure enough, when we're done, they never say that. I said to you, would you have made up that story? No. So we do a lot of healing work, based on the issues that they've brought in with them. But some of them have beautiful lifetimes, past lives that they recall. It's like earning a vacation. You may have had a real difficult life prior to that one, and you may have one lined up that's difficult coming up. And so in between, just enjoy this beautiful earth that the Creator gave us.
Right. And it's interesting because in astrology, especially the Vedic astrology, we can see what are the karmas that somebody came in with from previous lifetimes. It's called Prarabdha karma. It's actually got a name in
Mm-hmm.
Sanskrit. And we can
Mm-hmm.
also see what are the blessings, what are the gifts. And it can pinpoint some of the same issues, but it's so much better when the client actually goes and has this experience for themselves and sees it like a movie. Or the other thing that I've
Yes.
told people who, I also do past life regression and hypnotherapy
Mm-hmm.
work, but what I tell them is like, you may not see it like a movie. You may just feel it. You may just hear the
Right.
downloads. You may get it in a message or a story being told, or you just feel things in your body and then you put it together. So,
Mm-hmm.
and the same thing with like, don't worry if you think you're making it up. The subconscious,
Right.
the higher self is bringing you this information because it is coming from your soul, which knows all your
Exactly.
lifetimes, right?
Oh, exactly. That's where they're storehoused in your soul, and you can go and retrieve. That's your birthright. It's your birthright to understand your soul's journey from the time of creation until now. So I act as a guide. They do all the work. I don't. I'm not a reader. I don't say, in your past life you were Cleopatra. I would never say
Right.
anything like that to anybody, because it doesn't. They have to find this out on their own. And I always tell people too, if you feel emotion during the course of a regression, that's a sign that it's a real memory, because I can't make you cry,
Exactly.
or anything like this. So emotion is a sign that it's real. And like I said, when they go through it, they say, "Oh, I'd never make up a story like that." So they know then on some level, it's and some of it, I tell them use all of your senses. So if you can't see it, although visual people do the best,
Right.
I have found. But if you're kinesthetic, if you're auditory, or if even smell and taste, or you're intuitively feeling something. So I say use words like, I sense this, or I get the feeling that, if you don't actually see it, like you said, in a movie format. Although most people do see it that way, but if you don't, there's other ways of accessing it.
Exactly. And ultimately, it's empowering because they're doing the work, as you said, and it's giving them power back in this lifetime by making all these connections from the past lives. So,
Hmm.
Joanne, this has been great. We're going to take a little break and come back, and you're going to
Okay.
share with my clients. Maybe people want to know, like, what does happen during a typical past life regression. So, we might get a little bit into the nuts and bolts.
Sure.
So, stay tuned. So, Joanne, One thing I think that people might want to know who are a little tentative about past life regression, what happens during a typical session?
Well, it's pretty straightforward. I'm doing them all on Zoom now. I have been doing that since COVID. I used to have an office, and then because of COVID, I closed it. And actually, that was a blessing because now I have a global clientele, so I can work with people all over the world through Zoom. And at first, I thought this isn't gonna work, but
Yeah,
you know what? It works perfectly because people are so much more relaxed when they're in their own home.
good point.
Rather than having to get in the car and having all this anxiety and then driving to an office, you don't know where you're going, and meeting somebody you never met before, and trusting that whole process. Are you going to be comfortable in that space? Now they do it. They can lay on their bed. They can be in their lazy boy chair. They could sit at their desk, whatever makes them comfortable. So the beginning of it is a very long induction. So that I'm working to get them to relax, close their eyes, take some deep breaths, and then we just giving them the suggestion to relax every part of their body, starting with their toes. We work our way up to their head. I tell them that the feeling I'd like them to have is that feeling when you first wake up in the morning and you're in bed and your eyes are closed, and you can open your eyes and get up if you wanted to, but you don't want to because you're so relaxed and feeling so heavy in that bed. That's the feeling that ideally, I'd like to get them to feel. So we do that through the deep breathing and the relaxation. I say a prayer of protection. I surround them with white light. I never work with spirit without doing that. That keeps us safe.
Sure.
And the visual that I use is I have them walking into a forest. I describe the forest as they're walking through it, which is why I had said the visual people usually do very well with this exercise. It's more guided imagery. I don't really call it hypnosis. I think of it more as guided imagery. So
Yes.
they get to the middle of the forest, there's a bridge. The bridge was created as a portal between this world and the past life that the soul wants them to see. So they walk into a green mist on the bridge. I count them down: five, four, three, two, one. When they get to the other side of the bridge into a clearing, they are in that past life. So it's like walking onto a movie set,
That's
and
beautiful.
everything on the other side is what it was in that particular past life. So if you're going to medieval England, that's the what it's going to look like: the clothing, the architecture, and everything. When they get on the other side of the bridge, then I give them a few more instructions, and then I start to interview them. So the conversation switches from me doing all the talking to me actually asking them questions. First set of questions has to do with their identity. So, are you male or female? What color is your hair? What color is your skin? What are you wearing? Um, you know, where are you geographically on the planet? Do you have a sense of what year it is? Any of those questions. And I also tell them, you could be as vague as you want or as specific as you want. So, like when I ask somebody, do you have a sense of what year it is? I have some clients that will say it is 1632. They know exactly. Others will say, I don't know, it's like the 1600s, or else they identify it by its historic context, like it's medieval times, or it's Civil War, or it's ancient Rome or ancient Egypt or something like that.
I think King Henry VIII is the king right now. Or do they ever say
Yeah.
do they ever refer to like historical figures that they might be at that time period they're in?
Yes, they do. And one of the examples that I give people, especially those who have a feeling that they were somebody famous in a past life, which is what my next book is going to be called. Why are there so many Cleopatras?
Yes.
Um,
It's,
but
it's from
but
the
I'll say
ego.
to
It's
them,
from the ego, not the soul.
oh yeah. So I say to them, if you think you're Napoleon, are you on the horse looking out at the crowd through your eyes? Or are you in the crowd looking up at him and you're just simply identifying with him? So I did have somebody actually who was in King Henry's court. She ended up having her head chopped off, but
Uh,
it was not a pleasant lifetime. So a lot of people too, with Jesus Christ, they identify with him, and they don't say that they were Jesus, but they say that they were there. They were in the crowd. They followed him or whatever. I don't negate anybody's experience. I mean, sometimes, I'll have somebody else say to me, oh, I had this really happen. I had a woman say to me, I believe I was Patrick Henry. I said, really? Why do you say that? And she said, because he was a good talker and so am I.
Oh,
So
yeah.
based on just that little bit of information, they somehow, I say to them those all these famous people, they come back. They may not come back as somebody famous. I mean, I did that whole book about Thomas Jefferson Reborn, and he didn't come back as somebody famous.
Yeah.
He had his own karma to deal with. So yeah. So anyway, when I'm done asking all those questions, identification questions, then I ask them, ask your soul to scan that life from birth until death and tell me the one significant event that happened that was so important it left an imprint on your soul and you brought it in with you in this life to work it through, to either heal it or apply it or understand it or forgive it. And so then they tell me their story. I'll tell them, picture it as a movie. You're in a theater, you're watching your own biography. They made a biography about you in some other time period. Tell me what's going on. They stay with that. And if they get stuck, I move them along because I go with them. I can see what they're seeing.
Yes.
And I'll say to them, okay, well, what happens after that? We keep going until they say that's it, there's nothing left. And then I ask them the final questions, which would be, what are your last thoughts as your soul leaves your body? We go through the death scene. And again, they don't feel anything, they're just observing it.
Right.
And I'll say, what are your last thoughts as your soul is exiting your body? Because that often sets up the next lifetime. I had a woman who came to me with head to toe psoriasis. She regressed to a life in the Old West where she was a call girl. And when I asked her, what were your last thoughts when your soul left your body? She said, I don't want to be touched anymore. And so she comes into this life, manifests a skin condition in which nobody wants to touch her. That's how powerful
Wow.
those thoughts can be. So I ask them what their last thoughts were. Then I ask them, well, what do you have in common with your past life personality? Do you see any parallels or behavior patterns that are the same? So we examine all of that. And then finally, I ask them, are there any souls from that life in your life now? And I remind them that we travel as a soul family, as a pod, so to speak, and that, your husband in this life could have been your sister in a previous life, that we change gender, and we change roles. But you can sense them out. You could feel the essence of their soul. And you can say, oh, yeah, my mother in this life feels an awful lot like the man I described as my husband in that previous life. And then I'll say, okay, well, why did he come back with you? What lesson is he helping you to learn in this life? So it all makes a lot of sense. And then when they're done, well, I bring them back. Now, at this point, some of them want to do the soul writing, which is a written form of meditation that I teach. That'll enable them to go a little bit deeper. Uh, and we add that in if they choose to do that. And then I provide them with a soul writing message of my own. I ask my friends upstairs, do they have a message on behalf of so and so? In the soul writing session, and then I give that to them as I write that out, and they get a written transcript of every session. I don't record them because spirit likes to erase my recordings. They've done that every
Yes. No.
time.
Well, they're so high vibrational. I used to have that when it came to recording on CDs and on the computer back in the day between the cassettes, which Spirit liked, and then the
Yeah,
phones. Now I record things on the phone app,
yeah.
but yeah, you're right. Spirit doesn't like those vibrations. They kind of interfere, I think, the electronic.
Probably,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I can see that. I can understand that. Yeah, yeah. So usually they have one session with me, Jill. I don't. I mean, they're welcome to have multiples if they want, but because it goes to the source
Yes.
of the issue they're dealing with now, it's not like traditional psychotherapy where they have to go back over and over and over again. So usually one session is all that they require, and I'm so humbled by the work that I do with them because when they get that aha moment, and I know their life is going to change because of the session we had, there's nothing like that, no feeling like that I've ever experienced. So it's it's sacred work to me. I don't do it for entertainment purposes. I do it
Right.
for healing purposes. So I'm very honored to when they choose me to guide them on that journey.
Yes, and see, I think your training is a real gift for people going to see you. This is a profound healing that happens because I mean, I've been around metaphysics for 30 plus years like you, and some
Hmm.
people don't do justice to something like a past life regression. It's kind of not taken to this comprehensive healing level that you do. So it's really beautiful that you have this ability to share the gift in your training in a way that will bring people to a healing place and clear these long time karmas, which is going to lead me to the next question. People, so yes, when you're going in and doing past life regression work, there's karmic situations that come up around other people, around your
Hmm.
body, around whether you use your gifts properly or not, if you killed people. I'm sure that, you come across all kinds of things. And some of the karma is you got a blessing from a guru in a past life, and now you're able to do, certain healing or something like that. So not all
Hmm.
karmas are bad, but people
Hmm.
think that they are. So what do you say to them about the topic of karma?
Well, karma is just really cause and effect. It's
Right,
neither good nor bad. It's
right.
reaping what you sow, which is what really appealed to me as a child. It wasn't like a matter of, oh, you commit a sin, and if you don't go to the confessional, you're going to die and go straight to hell. It doesn't matter. You don't get another chance. You only get this one chance. Karma is not like that. Karma makes perfect sense. Like I said, we're coming to the earth as students. We have a curriculum, and those are the karmic issues we want to deal with in any given life. We work on those. When we pass those, hopefully, we put them in our karmic bank account, positive karmic bank account. We don't ever have to deal with them again. So people that, for instance, there's some people will come to me and they say that they feel like they're natural born healers, but something is stopping them. There's some major obstacle. They can't get past it. Well, okay, we go back. They were healers hundreds of years ago, but they were persecuted because of it. Going into the forest and looking for herbs and always looking over your shoulder because you think somebody's going to grab you. Well, that creates an obstacle in this life.
Right.
And every time they go to try to do the work again that they feel led to do, something stops them. They pull back. That's what's pulling them back. It's that subconscious memory of that persecution. So we work through all of that. So karma also, like I said, can be something very, very positive. They talk about children that are, and this is people will say, oh, that little boy is an old soul. Well, I I don't believe in old souls because we were all created at the exact same time.
Right.
So it's just that some of us have come back to Earth more often than others and have acquired a little bit more knowledge about the way this Earth plane works because we're all spiritual beings inhabiting physical bodies, and that's what we're working on. But there are people who come in with natural born talents. They can sit down at a piano at the age of 5 and play like Mozart did. Where is that coming from? There's no reason in this life that would be something that would be just, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. So that's a karmic attribute. A green thumb is a karmic attribute. People that have a history of fighting against injustice is a karmic attribute because you did it before. And so these things that you've done before that you've completed in other lifetimes gets deposited in what I call this positive karmic bank account. And you can pull on that, make a withdrawal anytime you want. So, so yeah, you're working on issues of maybe you're working in this lifetime, you're working on issues of acceptance and approval, or you're working on an issue of abandonment. Those are karmic issues.
Right.
But you've got this whole set of karmic attributes that you come in with to help you work on those other issues. So it's very beautifully balanced. The universe didn't forget anything when we were designed. So I just love to see the correlation between the two.
Right. And it's good for people to know that you do have gifts, you do have talents. It's just a matter of remembering them and cultivating. I think there's the remembrance, but also I think in this lifetime, we're asked to cultivate whatever our previous gifts were even more
Hmm.
if they present and that there's opportunity in dharma or it aligns with purpose in this lifetime. So yes,
Mhm.
I think that's a
Mhm.
great message to everybody. I just have a burning question before we finish because
Sure.
this comes up in Dolores Cannon's work and other past life regression therapists talk about people who might go back to some earth plane lives, but they may go back to a life in a different star system or in a different
Mhm.
dimension. Have you ever run across anything like that?
Honestly, Jill, in the 30-something years I've been doing this work, I can count on one hand the
Yeah,
number of clients that have said to me that they are from another star system. I have, in the case that one of them talked about the healing properties that he brought with him into this life. His was a very complicated story. I don't even, it's in one of my books. I can't remember off the top of my head. Another one said that she was here and she was very lonely, and talked about that. Casey talks about going to other star systems, um, to do some work in between your lives here on Earth. So, or you pass through.
right.
And again, that's not my area of expertise, but I know that he has done some readings in, I think is it Arcturus? Am I saying that right?
Probably Arcturus,
Uh,
yeah, and the
yeah,
Pleiades, yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So but like I said, that's not, for some reason, I don't get that very often from
Right.
people.
When they come to you, it's like they're doing deep past life work on this planet. But I was just curious
Yeah,
because it is kind of
yeah,
a big thing now that's out there
yeah.
in the collective. So,
Yeah, somebody sent me a question about that this week about, that they're dealing heavily with ETs, and I'm like, I'm not the person. I'll admit when I'm at my out of my comfort zone, because I don't know that much about it, and because my clients haven't brought that to me. So,
right, right. It's not your
you know,
wheelhouse, so to speak. You can
right,
you can help
right.
in this other profound work. So, thank you, Joanne. I'm wondering if you have anything coming up that listeners might be interested in that you want to tell us about. Any workshops, webinars?
Sure. Yeah, I have got a webinar that I'm doing for the ARE. It is on Wednesday, April 19th. It's from 8 p.m. to 9:15 p.m. Eastern Time. And it's on the value of past life exploration. So some of the things that I've covered in our talk tonight will be expanded on. And you could get information on that by going on the ARE website, which is edgarcayce.org. It's EDGARCAYCE.org. And if you go under events, or it'll be listed there. The information on how to register for that if you're interested in it.
Excellent. And can you share your website one more time, too?
Sure. Yeah. And if anybody is interested in booking a session with me or learning more about my work, you could go to my website, which is joannedimaggio.com, JoanneDimaggio.com. And you can book a session right through the website. I've got an online calendar there for not only the past life regressions, but also for the soul writing.
Well, thank you so much, Joanne. So much wonderful information today that you shared. And thank you so much for coming on Cosmic Scene.
Oh, thank you, Jill. I always enjoy talking about this work, and I hope to hear from some of your listeners soon.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Cosmic Scene featuring my guest, Joanne DiMaggio, past life regression therapist and hypnotherapist. Make sure you subscribe, download, share, and give us a 5-star review. This is Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine signing out, sending healing, past, present, and future vibrations into the quantum field.